And we might be live, are we?
I'm on the channel at the moment.
Okay.
Yes, we are indeed,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're live, pal. We always gotta say pal there. I don't make the rules.
Okay, let me stick this on this then. I'm gonna tweet out as well. Why not?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, should we get cracking then
Let's get cracking.
with this with this all right, cool. That's it. I'd send it a retweet there as well. So we'll see what happens. Okay.
Watch us, like us. Please. I'm begging you.
Yeah, I'm not at the begging stage yet, but
Oh yeah,
maybe
okay.
in
I was
maybe
kidding.
soon.
I was
Okay,
kidding.
well, I'll kick us off then. Um,
You got some
if you've
nicknames
got
for
your
us?
no, actually,
Oh, I got it. I
yeah.
got us nicknames. Don't worry.
Okay,
So
well,
I'll
okay.
kick it off then.
You kick it off then. Your turn.
All right. Hello and welcome everyone to the WrestleBlast podcast. I'm your host, Andre Don't Piss Me Off Wakefield, and my tag team partner, my broadcast partner is the Nugget, David Cardiff. How's it going?
Oh, it's going better than Owen Hart's gimmick was in 1999. Anyway,
But do you have a tag
Jesus,
team championship?
I think he did.
He did.
Oh no, I
I'm
don't.
saying to
He
you.
did. I didn't. I no, I don't. So yeah, it was going well at that stage, but more on 1999. Unfortunately, I know Owen Hart later.
Yeah.
But how you doing, man? You keeping well?
I'm doing okay. Same old, same old. I got my fourth COVID shot, which is like some
Wow.
people have probably never even heard of that, but since I'm immune suppressed, I qualified, so I figured I haven't had a. My last booster was 7 months ago, so I was like, oh,
Hmm.
it's probably not effective anymore, so I might as well go get another one. So yeah, other than that, I've been like in living in the 90s because I've been watching The Simpsons the first couple seasons. And
Okay.
I've been playing the original Max Payne, which I've never played before. And
Right. Okay.
yeah, that's been my life past couple weeks. What about you?
Oh wow, fair play. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I could go back and play an old sort of video game like that. And
I
Simpsons season 1 and 2 is pretty grim looking, but I remember it's very funny.
Yeah, it has
But
aged surprisingly well. The Simpsons. It's very even though it's 30 years old, it's pretty relevant to today's life. And Max Payne, I mean, it has its quirks, but it has aged much better than a lot of games from that era.
yeah, the actor or the developer who built Max Payne hasn't really aged that much because it's the lead developer I think that used his face
I think
for
everybody's
Max.
face in that game was the developers.
All screwed up and yeah,
Yeah.
squinting. No, I've just been watching stuff to be honest. You dude, Peacemaker's been great. I finished Book of Boba Fett, so I finished that there the other day there,
I'm
and
waiting for
it
both
wasn't
of
as good as
those.
Peacemaker.
I usually wait for all the episodes to come out first before I
Hmm.
watch, so I think both of those are getting close to the finish.
Well, Boba Fett just finished there,
Okay.
so you can go ahead and watch that. And Peacemaker, I think the next episode next Thursday will be the last episode,
Okay.
and it's been really enjoyable. I have to say, it's like out of all the DC series and stuff, it's probably head and shoulders above all of them, and even compared to some of the Marvel series as well. I think it's pretty bang on the money. Like if you're looking for a sort of funny adventure. It's James Gunn, obviously, who did Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff, and he's nailed it again. It's
Yeah,
it's very very funny.
that new Squad movie, I really liked it. I was surprised by it.
Mm. It's basically John Cena,
Yeah.
doing John Cena stuff. The same in both the movie and the series. He's very very likable. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely worth checking out. But yeah, apart from that, not much else. So I guess we'll kick things off because there is quite a lot to get through, I think, here for St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Today's pay per view we're going to be reviewing all the way back from 1999.
Before we get started, can
Um,
I just say something? I'm gonna sound like a
yeah, go
major
for it.
fanboy, but can I just say how great Dynamite was last week?
Yeah, it
that
was.
that episode, I saw your tweet. You said it was like 90s episode, and that's exactly how I felt. I was just so excited, like from segment to segment. I was like, "Oh, who is this Jay White guy. I've never seen him or heard of him, but I mean, I've heard
Uh,
like he's a big deal and stuff, so I'm kind of excited to
yeah.
see. And then the next segment, Keith Lee, it's like holy crap, and Tony Schiavone screaming like in that high pitched voice when he gets excited. I love that. Like whenever Goldberg would like used to pick someone up for a jackhammer, Tony Schiavone
Mm.
was like, he picks him up, and and that's what
I
it was like with Keith Lee.
I can guarantee you Goldberg never threw anyone as far as Keith Lee did. I think that was
Yeah,
the
that's true.
farthest I've ever seen somebody take a bail. And yeah, just I mean, you got to give props to both guys that they just, Isaiah Cassidy knew exactly what he was doing in that match to get Keith Lee over, and like he deserves like to be taken out for a quality dinner after that one because he made Keith Lee look like an absolute monster, and he was huge, like he's
Yeah,
massive.
he's a little bit bloated. I mean, not to like fat
He's a
shame or
big guy.
anything, but like he's kind of getting up there with age, so he might better
Mm.
think about losing a few pounds. But I mean,
I don't know. I think that he's one of those guys. I think that just has he's not going to be like a muscle type guy or skinny. He's just naturally bulky.
yeah,
I think you find with a lot of sort of weightlifters and stuff, they've got the same sort of physique where they don't look like they're muscly, roidy sort of guys. They're more just like raw strength. So
yeah.
I think he's in good shape
Uh,
for his age.
Jr. did compare his look to Mark Henry, so I guess yeah, Mark Henry's kind of
Hmm.
similar body type.
Similar type, I suppose, but
Yeah,
there is a canyon in between them in terms of like charisma and
athleticism.
athleticism and ability in the ring. But I mean, I'm not gonna argue too much
Yeah,
with JR. I think
the that
he's
episode.
trying to draw comparisons.
Yeah, that episode just kept firing. It's like after that, it's like, what's next? Oh, CM Punk has a mystery partner, and then
Yeah.
that main event, that last man standing match
Oh,
with
that
that.
was unreal.
I wish I did not see that before St. Valentine's Day Massacre because that just kind of ruined a certain match for me. But
That's it exactly. I think going anywhere into wrestling, I think we're going to struggle, especially in the past, unless you're watching, I don't know, like sort of 2003 WWE at that stage where you've got like some Rob Van Dam perhaps and stuff in there, and Rey Mysterio and the Hardy Boys and stuff. 1999 is a shadow compared to early 2000s WWF, and certainly the likes of TNA in its early days as well, in like 2002 and stuff. So
mhm.
yeah, it's there's gonna be some fun to discuss in this one.
Yep. All right, let's
But
get into it then.
yeah, going back to the 27th of February 1999. Um, Oh no, not the 27th, the 14th.
14th,
So
yeah.
Valentine's Day, yes. Valentine's Day. It's the 20th. I've got a note here. It says it's the 27th In Your House pay-per-view,
Oh,
although
okay.
it's not technically branded as an In Your House pay-per-view. I didn't even know it was In Your House pay-per-view until I looked it up. But there you go. The In Your House pay-per-views are not exactly they were like a lower quality compared to like the likes of the big ones, Survivor
Hmm.
Series, Royal Rumble, that sort of jazz.
Yeah, at first
Um,
they were just labeled like in your house 2, in your house 3, and then they started
mhm.
adding like little subtitles like in your house, Return of the Taker or something like that they had.
Beware of Dog. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's loads.
then eventually they kind of flipped it. They started doing like No Mercy and then in small
Hmm.
letters in your house and it's kind
In
of
Your House
similar
got
thing.
phased out, and then it just
Yeah.
became No Mercy, I guess, and things like that. So,
Yeah.
yes, we are going back to the 14th of February 1999. So let me just bring up my notes here because we're going to be moving across here to one of our favorite segments, and that is music, games, and movies. So, going back to February.
MGM.
MGM, yeah, we've got. I'll start off the UK charts as we always do, and then you can chime in with the US charts here. So,
Yep.
starting off at number 10, we've got Heartbeat slash Tragedy by Steps, which you would have heard of, I'm sure.
I gotta hear it.
The
I don't recognize names sometimes, but I'm sure I've heard it.
okay, okay, so that'll
Gotta
be in.
splice it in
I'll
for the
splice it in
Spotify
for
version,
the audio.
everybody. Yes. Go to
Yes,
Spotify,
check
look
us
us
out
up.
Check us out on Spotify. There'll be a lot of edits from tonight's show and that
Or
if you're
if you're boycotting Joe Rogan, then you don't have Spotify anymore. Apple
you can
Music.
get it on
Yeah.
Apple Music, you can get it on Amazon, you can get it on Google Podcasts. There's plenty of other places.
Yes.
Number 9 was Pretty Fly for a White Guy by The Offspring, which is a great song.
Oh, my theme song right there.
We've got, surprisingly, here, I was kind of surprised to see this, Changes by Tupac. This is
Oh,
number 8.
wow. Yeah, it's not on my
Yeah,
top 10. That's surprising. And Tupac in the UK, but not in the United States? That's kind of
I'm not
unusual,
sure
I
if,
think.
I can't remember what year Tupac was murdered. Was it 1999 or was it
He
earlier?
died in 96, but they
96, okay.
released a bunch more albums, but the first two or three after he died were still good. So,
Hmm.
yeah, Changes is
There you
one
go.
of his biggest songs, too.
Okay. We had Protect Your Mind at number 7 by DJ Sakin and Friends. I don't remember that one.
I don't know that one.
I might have to splice that in. I'll see. If it's good, I'll splice it in. If it's not, I'll stick it in the bin. Um, Maria by Blondie was at number 6. I'm kind of surprised to see Blondie in the charts in the 90s. I don't remember her being there, but she's there. Um, we had I Want You Back by NSYNC, which, as we've discussed in the past, the UK has this love relationship with soppy boy bands, so I'm not surprised to see a boy band in the top 10.
Yeah.
Number 4 was X Factor by Lauryn Hill, which I do think I had this album.
Mm-hmm.
And then she disappeared not long after this into a bit of a life of obscurity for many years due to some hot takes or not so hot takes that she had on things. We had Fly Away by Lenny Kravitz at number 3. It was
Oh, yeah.
massive, massive at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 was Runaway by The Corrs, which I think we've had on the show before. Not Runaway, but a different song of theirs.
I
Irish
think so.
pop band, bunch of girls and their brother. It's doing a bit of a ballad, soppy love ballads. And then at number 1 was the Queen of Pop at the time with Baby One More Time, Britney Spears.
Oof. We got one song in common.
Wow. Okay, so let's hear the US while I sip my wine here. So go ahead.
Okay, so number 10, we have Jumper by Third Eye Blind. Number 9 is Angel
Hmm.
by Sarah McLachlan. Number
Not a
8,
clue.
we have A Slide by Goo Goo Dolls. Number
Okay, yeah.
7 is Heartbreak Hotel by Whitney Houston with Faith Evans and Kelly Price.
Hmm.
Number 6, All I Have to Give by Backstreet Boys. So we do have a
Oh,
boy band,
Jesus.
just a
Yeah.
different one. We have the other boy band. Or maybe
Yes.
NSYNC is the other boy band. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Number 5 is Have You Ever by Brandy.
Okay.
Number 4 is one of my all-time favorites, is Believe by Cher. And number
Okay.
3 is Nobody's Supposed to Be Here by Deborah Cox. And
Not a clue.
number 2 is the one we have in common, which is Baby One More Time by Britney Spears.
Hmm.
And number 1 is Angel of Mine by Monica, which is a song that I like, but yeah, I was not
I can't
expecting it
remember
to
that
be
one.
number 1.
Yeah, interesting. Completely different apart from the one
Yeah.
song. Fascinating. Oh, there you go. So that was the music that was out of the weekend of the pay-per-view. And then moving across just swiftly as a sort of dabble into the video games because again, start of the year, there isn't a whole lot happening.
Yeah.
So if I can find actually find them here because all I've got is a big long list of games that came out in the year. So Final Fantasy VIII came out on February 11th on PlayStation 1, which is pretty big. It's probably not my most favorite Final Fantasy game. Final Fantasy VII was still to this day
Final
one of the
Fantasy
kings.
8 is the only Final Fantasy game that I've really truly played, but it was when I
Mhm.
first came to America and I didn't speak English very well, so I didn't know what to do, and Final Fantasy games can get kind of complicated. So yeah, I
Yes.
was trying to play it like Pokemon because I kind of knew how to play Pokemon at the time, but yeah, Final Fantasy is a bit deeper than that. So I beat the first
Yes.
disc, and then with the help of a strategy guide and my dad, but yeah, I didn't get further than that. And unfortunately, because of that experience, I'm still to this day turned away from JRPGs, which is unfortunate because I feel like I'm missing out on a lot of good games. So I gotta find my way back and somehow because I'm a lot more intelligent and knowledgeable now. So
Well, you can read English now, so
yeah,
that might
that
be the
helps.
deciding factor. Yeah,
Yeah,
JRPGs are very fond of using text to explain narrative. So yeah, I don't blame you if English wasn't your first language at that stage. So
yeah.
that's fair enough. And that's, to be honest with you, that's really it. Final Fantasy VIII's really the only big game that came out in February. There was a few other ones like Street Skater, Army Men 3D, MLB 2000 came out, which might have been more popular in America than it was in the UK. And
Probably, yeah.
that's really it. I mean, early in January we had WCW NWO Thunder got released
Oh
on the
wow.
PlayStation 1. Super Smash Brothers got released. And then we had like Marvel's Superheroes for Street Fighter, which is a great game.
Hmm.
And then Silent Hill as well came out in January. So, and then also you had WCW Nitro as well on the N64 and Mario Party on the N64. So January was pretty good. But
Not for
that's about
wrestling
it.
games.
No, Jesus. I mean, there's 3 wrestling games there, which is pretty crazy. And then
They're
later
all
in the year,
garbage.
well, later in the year, you'd have WWF Attitude in August, I think it was, and then you would have WrestleMania 2000, I think, later that year as well. So there was like a couple. It's
Yeah,
really weird.
WrestleMania 2000 is like the first good wrestling game of the Attitude
Mm.
Era, unless you count WCW Mayhem, which I think is a
That came out
little
as well that year. Mm.
bit underrated. People like crap on it, but it's
Mm.
fine. It's a fine game. It functions.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so moving across to movies, this is global box office here, just going from 10 to 1, maybe skipping a few, we'll see. Number 10, Patch Adams with Robin Williams. We had at number 9 was 8mm, which is it's a
Oh,
really good film. I've definitely seen that one. Saving Private Ryan was at number 8, obviously huge film. Varsity Blues was at number 7. Blast from the Past was at number 6, which I don't remember. Number 5 was my favorite Martian, which is a Disney movie apparently. And then we had Shakespeare in Love at number 4, Message in a Bottle at number 3,
oh, my mom's all-time
number
favorite movie.
Message in a Bottle,
Yeah.
and then number 2 was She's All That, and then number one was Payback. So good movie there. Number 1, I remember that one. So there you go. That's sort of the brief synopsis of what was happening at the time in movies and games and music. So there you are. But what was happening in the WWF at that time, I suppose, is what we're here about today. St. Valentine's Day Massacre. It's
You know what's interesting about this pay-per-view? This is a complete coincidence, but basically, back in like 2016, I started watching all the Nitros, and in 2019, I
Mhm.
finally finished it. I finished everything WCW. So
Mhm.
then I took a break from wrestling, and I thought, okay, time to watch the Attitude Era because I've never seen it. So I started in 1998, the beginning of 1998, and I kind of binged it all the way up to this very pay-per-view this past summer.
Mhm.
And this was like my cutoff point, coincidentally. So now that I kind of watched this, I think I'm going to continue my binge in the next few months. So
Okay.
everything building up to this pay-per-view is pretty fresh in my memory.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, you can fill in some blanks because I didn't look at Raw and I didn't look at what was happening at
Yeah,
WCW at the time.
I'm sure without context, a lot of this doesn't make any sense.
Yes,
And even
perhaps.
even with context, a lot of this still doesn't make sense. So don't worry.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that the big thing at the time was probably, as we'll get on to, Mankind being WWF champion. So that's kind of a notable mark in wrestling history because obviously it stemmed off the back of Tony Schiavone going, "Oh, that's going to put some butts in seats." He said on the broadcast, trying to spoil the results. So anyway, we'll
But
get into all of that.
but I believe
But
even though this was only a month later, I think this is his second reign since then because they passed the belt
okay.
around like every week.
Y- Yes, that is true. Yeah, it was a bit of a hot shot title at that stage. We get this is from the Pyramid in Tennessee. Is it? I forget the name of the Memphis, Tennessee, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
Memphis,
Memphis.
Tennessee. So King's hometown. And the Pyramid, which is kind of,
I've never
I've
heard of
no,
it.
I've never heard of
Yeah,
it.
the only pyramid I know of is the Luxor, but that's in
Mm,
Vegas.
it looks exactly like the Luxor. I've been to
Yeah.
the Luxor in Vegas, but this is in Tennessee. Really weird decision to build a a sort of an arena or like I don't know if it's a hotel or what
Yeah,
the
I
crack
don't
is with
know.
it
It looked
in
kind of
Memphis.
cool. I don't even know if it still exists because I haven't heard of any shows from there.
No, definitely not. I'll have to Google that one, I suppose. So we get a classic WWF Attitude opening and an old school sort of sepia video package of Stone Cold Steve Austin driving McMahon crazy while the crazy sort of Jim Johnson theme plays over the top of it. I think he's the one that put that one together.
I love
And
this
it's
little video package. It like legitimately made me laugh out loud, especially when they were like backstage and Austin just runs and punches Vince and Vince just falls.
Yeah, it's very unique, this one, even compared to the sort of later ones, and it's not anything like the Limp Bizkit ones. And
Yeah.
those video packages from back then are really all tremendous for every pay-per-view I think we've looked at for WWF. So this one also features the Brood, the Undertaker, The Rock versus Foley, and Triple H getting low blowed by China, and that sort of sets up tonight's matches. It sort of briefly covers each person, shows you what sort of led them to this point, without sort of telling you exactly what led you up to this point. But there's a lot going on here.
Yeah. A lot of people hate
There's a
each
lot of
other.
stories. Yeah, there's a lot of stories going into this show. So we then get like another video package, which is more sort of traditional, with the theme of tonight's show. It's not the crazy theme; it's like another one that I spliced in at the end of the last podcast. And we get voice snippets in this second package, which sort of has the feud between Austin and McMahon, and then basically telling you it's culminating tonight in the steel cage match that you're going to see later on. And we get Michael Cole. Now, this is the only thing I couldn't figure out was where was JR at the stage. I guess that he mustn't have been very well,
Um,
or.
this was actually when he had his Ball's palsy attack.
Mhm.
First he took some time off a couple months prior to this because his mom died, I think. And then
Oh,
he was
yes.
just gone for a while, and they never really mentioned it on screen. But this was when he had his Bell's palsy attack.
Mm.
So yeah, he was gone.
Okay. Because I knew that he was back for obviously the Over the Edge pay per view, which was the one that Owen Hart passed away on.
Hmm.
But I was kind of, and I knew this other one was obviously before that one, so I was like, I don't know where JR is, but
Yeah,
that makes sense.
at
And
this point he was gone for like 2 or 3 months, I want to say. So it's quite a
okay,
while.
yeah, definitely, it's a long time. So instead of JR, we get Michael Cole, who welcomes us to the Memphis Pyramid in Memphis, Tennessee, alongside Jerry the King Lawler, who is treated like a king, with huge Jerry chants. And there's loads of signs, not just the one sign. There's actually more than one that says Lawler for mayor, because he was running for mayor at the time.
Yeah, I think so. I think he actually was.
He was, yeah, it's legit. He didn't get it, thankfully. Can you
Yeah,
imagine
well,
Jerry Lawler in charge of a city?
isn't
That would
Kane like a mayor of Tennessee now? Or is some city in
Knoxville, yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
So I mean, one of those guys got the office job.
Yeah, yeah. Kane is a scary, scary mayor. He is a staunch Republican as well, and I think I saw a tweet the other day where he was saying,
Yeah.
"Get these masks off our kids." So he's
I
gone
hate
down
that
that route.
every one of my favorite childhood wrestlers is a white supremacist, right wing propagandist. It just makes me sad. Except for Sting. As far as I know,
This thing seems okay so
yeah,
far.
he's a California boy, so there's only
Yes,
so much right wing you can be when you're in California.
I think so. Yeah, until one day we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, a few right wingers on this show anyway, which we'll cover. So the title of the event alludes to the Saint Valentine's Day Massacre of 1929. Don't hear you picking a real cracker here. Which was which saw 7 people murdered as part of the gang war between Al Capone and Bugs Moran. So welcome to Valentine's Day, folks, and
What?
happy Valentine's Day as well, dude, in advance for tomorrow.
One note I want to say is the rapper 50 Cent, in 2005, I want to say, he released an album called The Massacre, but originally
Hmm.
he was going to name it St. Valentine's Day Massacre, and there was a lot of backlash against it.
Mhm.
So a gangster like 50 Cent changes the album name, but WWF says no, we're keeping it.
I think it's just nobody batted an eyelid at what WWE is doing from mainstream media. It's kind of at the stage, advertisers wouldn't touch them. It's
Yeah,
a
probably.
different time period. I think this is even before they went public as well.
Yeah.
So they're still a private company at this stage. But we go straight into our first match, which is Goldust versus the Blue Meanie, or Blue Dust, as he's going by. And
My Russo meter
Goldust,
went up already.
I know, sense was tingling. So Michael Cole runs us down with a recent feud between the Blue Mini and Goldust to explain why this is happening. And essentially, the leader of the Job Squad, Al Snow, had his mascot, a mannequin head he believed to be sentient, as he did in ECW, was stolen from him by Goldust, who restyled the head in keeping with his own makeup. In a match on Raw's War, 25th of January, the Blue Meanie made his WWF debut by coming through the crowd and stealing the head back for Snow. Obviously, there's some kind of connection between the two in ECW. They were, I think, in the company at the same time at some stage. And then the following week on February 1st, Goldust attacked Blue Meanie, but the night before the event on a special Saturday night Raw, Goldust lost the match to Goldberg Light, aka Gilberg, when Meanie distracted him with a video of himself covered in blue paint, lying on a couch, calling himself Blue Dust and rubbing himself provocatively. It's horrific.
My eyeballs got
Absolutely
massacred.
horrific.
I have no words.
He is a large man and seems to be sweaty 90% of the time, but he's very good at these characters.
Yeah, if you don't know what we're talking about, let's just say he's not very attractive.
I mean, he's married. Somebody loves him, but he's
His mama.
he's there to disgust you, and he does a good job of doing it, I think.
Yeah.
So after that match was over, the arena went dark, and then it obviously showed him on the video, and that pretty much set Goldust off, and the two had a sort of feud built off the fact that Blue Meanie just copied Goldust, calling himself Blue Dust.
Yeah.
And here we are. Goldust immediately goes to town on Blue Dust, while the referee, Teddy Long, tries desperately to turn this into a tag match. He doesn't really, but anytime I see Teddy Long, I'm just like, he's itching to turn this into a tag match.
Yeah.
Goldust beats the shit out of Meanie. Meanie tries to escape, taunting the crowd with provocative moves, shall we call them, but is dragged back in. There's a horrific spot where Meanie grinds on Goldust's knees to massive boos. He's swiftly given the curtain call by Goldust for the win, pin and win in 3 minutes and 4 seconds. And then after the match, the crowd goes wild for Shattered Dreams in the corner to Blue Dust.
You're not going to mention the wedgie? The ODB spot?
Oh God, yes, he does get a wedgie, doesn't he?
Yeah,
My mind's blocked that one out.
Goldust gives Blue Meanie or Blue Dust like this huge wedgie, and we get to see his ass, and I was not happy about this.
It's horrible.
I did
it's
not
horrible.
want to see this, and surprisingly nice moonsault by Blue Dust. He did a moonsault,
does, yeah,
and it was decent. I'm gonna give him credit for that. So,
yeah. It was horrific. It was right up his hole. So, Google that if you dare.
Thankfully, it was very short.
It was, yeah. I mean, we can briefly get through this one. I think I give this 2 out of 5 stars. It was fun for what it was. Yeah, 2 out of 5. I was being generous.
You're very generous. I gave this a 1.
Fair enough.
And it was for that moonsault.
Yeah, I mean it's a fast opener, and the crowd was super into it, so I was kind of into it by proxy.
That's what I was thinking. The moonsault was nice. Goldust was really over for some reason. Like, he was super popular. In the Shattered Dreams, the crowd went crazy.
And I think Goldust wasn't long back in the company. It was 97, I think he came back in, so I think he'd been through all of the daft characters up until this point, perhaps. And he's sort of...
Shortly before this, he, like, disappeared, and then he just came back as Dustin Rhodes, and he kept, like, reading the Bible. He would, like, come to matches, sit at the desk, and with the commentators and just like read Bible verses and say he's coming back, like telling all like this Jesus stuff, and then he coming back ended up being Goldust. So it just kind of went nowhere. It was weird.
Yeah, it's fair enough. I think the WCW didn't know what to do with him. WWF got into a bit of bother with him originally in his first run, so just being Goldust, I think, and being a sort of comedy character is what he sort of stemmed into or went into. And obviously, he had that great tag run with Booker T. So
Yeah,
yeah, he's good, relatively good shape here too.
yeah.
We get a recap of Heat earlier tonight where Austin confronts McMahon and McMahon spits in Austin's face. And the sort of storyline was that McMahon had put a stipulation that Austin couldn't touch him. So McMahon was trying to wind him up to the point where he was going to hit him. We go back to ringside where we've got Al Snow versus Hardcore Holly for a hardcore match for the vacant Hardcore Championship.
Well, he's not Hardcore Holly yet. He's still Bob Holly
Oh,
at this point. He becomes Hardcore Holly after winning the Hardcore belt here. Spoiler.
okay, there you go. I've just always called him Hardcore Holly, but you're right, he was Bob Sparky Plug Holly. He's been just Bob Holly then, and he was part of the Job Squad.
Yeah, this was
He's
weird
had
to
quite
me
a career.
because they both had their Job Squad gear, so I was confused.
Mm.
Even though I know the backstories to these matches, I could not figure out who the faces and the heels were half the time. And here's we have two stablemates fighting each other, and it just, I don't know, I was confused. But I mean, it's the
Well,
hardcore division. I guess it doesn't matter. Just go out and hit yourself in the head with whatever you see.
yeah, pretty much all sucks the hardcore division. But well, let's have a bit of context. Context is king, as they say. So, in the first few weeks of the year, Road Dogg and Al Snow had formed an ad hoc hardcore tag team. But after losing to the Acolytes, they had a dispute, and Snow challenged Road Dogg to a match to decide who was more hardcore. Road Dogg was attacked backstage and couldn't fight, so Snow began to have a match with himself by hitting himself with weapons and moonsaulting into a table. Fellow Job Squad member Bob Holly came to the ring and tried to talk some sense into him, but found himself brawling instead with Al Snow. When it was discovered the attack on Road Dogg, would prevent him defending the WWF Hardcore Championship title. A match between the two Job Squad members was then made for the vacant championship.
I think
So
Road
there you
Dogg
go.
was legitimately injured because he was having hardcore matches like every week at that point.
Mm,
So I think he got hurt, and that's why he was written out.
okay, fair enough. Yeah, it's very uninteresting, this storyline and this match. I will be honest with you, but we will briefly cover it. So essentially, the two immediately begin brawling into the crowd and backstage into a loading dock. There's absolute silence for this match. You could have heard a pin drop at certain points in the match. The two smash into everything on the way through. You can sort of tell as soon as they start going through the building where they're going to go,
Yeah, I
which
don't
is
think there was a
outside.
single wrestling move in this match.
Very few and far between, I think. They end up brawling outside with Bob Holly being thrown off of a truck trailer and then Snow getting battered with a stop sign. The two brawl over the road and pretty much signpost where they're now going. They are obviously in Memphis, Tennessee, and right beside the Mississippi River. So here you go. You can see them. You can see them just brawling across the street.
Yeah.
It's the most contrived thing ever, I think. But
Yeah, there's a guy with a light following them everywhere, which you
it,
see in some shots.
it is pitch black. Once they leave the roadside and they start going down towards the riverbank, you can't see anything.
Do you remember that Vampiro and Sting, I think, match? Or maybe it was the Demon where they were fighting in the graveyard?
Yes, it
And
was Vampire and Sting, I think.
it
Yeah.
was just, they had no
Oh no, it was the
light.
demon, I think.
I think it was the Demon, yeah. There was no
Yeah.
light, so you couldn't tell anything what was happening. So, unlike that match,
Mm,
at least we could see what was going on in this one.
that's right. Yeah. Uh, Jesus. Yeah. They use wheelbarrows, stop signs, wire, wood, and every other bit of plunder you can imagine.
Yeah, they used
Eventually,
street signs. I don't know if those were planted there or they like
they
legitimately used
were.
them.
Yeah, there was like a street sign planted in the ground, and as soon as they went into it, it just sort of keeled over
Yeah,
because it had just been stuck into the ground. It's fairly grim.
still looked dangerous though.
It did, yeah. When they were, I mean, it looked freezing for
Yeah,
starters on the outside,
they said it was
and they're
30
in.
degrees, and Bob Holly had no shirt on.
Yeah, and I don't know. Eventually, they end up in the river. They brawl briefly into the river, which like it must have sucked going into a cold river at night.
Yeah,
Um,
I got chills just watching it. It was nighttime, freezing, and there must be really hot because they're working hard. So that change of temperature is not good for your body.
yeah, they and into the on the ground and stuff, and the sort of bracken and bramble line all over the show, and
Yeah, and they were getting throwing each other into like branches and bushes, and that could get kind of dangerous too,
yeah,
and
so
unpleasant.
somebody steps in front of the light at one stage, so you can't see anything at all. Bob Holly almost kills the cameraman as he throws a stick towards Al, but it just goes past Al and straight towards the camera.
You know what that
Uh,
reminded me of? I've been recently watching like the Hobbit movies and stuff like that, and a few
mhm.
others from like 2010 period. And when you
Yeah.
watch movies from 2008 to 2011, that was the big 3D era. So every movie has something forced into the screen. And that's what that reminded me of, like a 3D effect.
So what you're saying is, would this pay-per-view have been better with 3D if they had given you a 3D interactive experience?
For those who like it, I personally am not a fan of 3D, but they would have been way
No.
ahead of their time. So
Yeah, if I in the past, if I needed to go watch a 3D movie, I'd have to put the glasses over the top of my glasses.
I
So it's
hate that, and it's uncomfortable.
yeah, it sucks. It
And
really does.
in theaters, you have to sit straight because even if you tilt a little bit, everything gets thrown off. And one of my best friends that I used to go to movies with all the time, he was obsessed with 3D. So every time
Hmm.
it had to be 3D, and I'm like, I'm not going. First of all, it's like
And
$20,
yeah,
and it's not a good experience.
yeah. Okay, so let's have a look. So yeah, Bob rolls up Al in a fence and pins him for the win in
But
9 minutes and 58 seconds.
but before that, he was trying to like drag a piece of the fence out of the ground or something, and he couldn't do it. So you could clearly hear him say
Yes.
"fuck." Sorry, this is not kid friendly. But yeah, he says it. It's funny.
Yeah, they struggled with this fence for a little bit, and then eventually he gets rolled up in the into the fence, and that's it. 9 minutes and 58 seconds. I'm not sure if that includes the time it took Bob Holly to run back into the arena, which they showed in its entirety, which I was kind of blown away by. As Tim White struggles to keep up with him,
Yeah.
so he has to run all the way back from the Mississippi River into the building, through the stands, and then into the ring, just to sort of go, "Yay!"
Yeah.
And that's it. It's the most ridiculous sight in the world. It just wasted time.
You know what this match reminded me of? Like when you play, especially old school wrestling games, you go backstage and you
Hmm.
just have to use every weapon just to see
Yes.
what it does. And you have to like use every OMG spot or whatever just to see what happens when you throw someone in there. And I feel like that's what they did in this match. They just tried everything that they saw.
Yes. Yes. It was not a good match, I will say. Not even a good hardcore match. I give this 1 out of 5. What did you
Oh, well,
go on this one?
we flipped on this one. As bad as this was, I enjoyed it. I was amused by it, I guess you could say.
Okay.
I don't want to see it again or anything similar to this, but I was just kind of sitting there chuckling. It was like, I don't know, it was a train wreck, I guess you could say. But
It was. That's why I gave it 1.
yeah, I give this a 2. So
Okay.
our
Fair
totals are
enough.
evened out for the night so
Fair
far.
play. Yes, yes, not a great match. So yes, flipping around's not too bad. I mean, 1 and 2 is means it's pretty poor. Don't bother watching this
Yeah.
one. To the back, the Undertaker and his ministry goons are gathered around a burning barrel while Taker spouts some old bollocks about tonight's massacre and that Midian is going to take Boss Man's soul.
I want to say something about this, and this is very nitpicky, and I'm probably going to sound like a dick, but a lot of people do this, and Undertaker did this, but he pronounces Valentine's Day with an M. He says
Hmm.
Valentine's Day, which
Oh, okay, I
many
didn't notice
many
that one.
people do that, and I don't know why, but it just irks the crap out of me. I don't know, it just bothers me. It's like one of those things that it's like nails on chalkboard type of thing
Uh-huh.
where I hear people say it, I'm just like, no, it's with an N, not an M.
Yeah, I think it's been been like that forever. It's a strange one. Maybe it's his
Yeah.
southern drawl, or maybe it's just the fact that Undertaker is not a good speaker.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's just I know people in personal, like some friends who say it like that. They don't. It's I don't know.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird speech things. It's kind of like when people say I could care less when they mean I couldn't care
Hmm.
less. But
Okay.
like 90% of people say I could care less, which is not correct. Uh,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well, moving on. Uh, for our next match, which is Big Boss Man versus Midian.
Mr. Pay
Midian,
Per View Midian.
yeah, this is so far we've had Goldust, Blue Dust, Al Snow, Bob Holly, and now we're getting Big Boss Man versus Midian. You can sort of see something's not quite right with this pay-per-view, and
Yeah,
it's probably that
we're watching Velocity, not the pay per view.
this is very, very low rent. Midian is out with his formaldehyde eye, which is just an eye in a jar, asking Jerry Lawler to keep an eye on it.
Yeah,
Um,
the thing with Midian, I remember if he had a different name before he was Midian. It was, I don't know what his name was, but he was some security guy who came out with a suit, and
huh.
the ministry like kidnapped him, and literally he was in this like chained up in a dungeon for like 3 weeks, and apparently this dungeon travels with the WWF from town to town because it was there every week, and they were like feeding him like dog food or something. They were basically like torturing him, and he ended up going crazy and turning into Midian. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, but the eyeball thing, I'm not sure where that came from.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It didn't last for very long. I think by the year 2000, he would have been Naked Midian, which was his next gimmick. So, poor old Midian. He was also one of the, I can't remember the name of the tag team, but they were sort of like country boys.
Yeah, the
They would come out
Godwins.
in the Godwins. I think he was part of the Godwins at one stage or something like that.
Yeah,
So he's been around. He's been around a while. So as long as he's getting paid constantly, I mean,
I
more power
guess.
to
Yeah.
him. He was obviously up for it. Um, yeah, Jerry Lawler's voice at this stage starts to dip in and out, and you'll hear it across the rest of the night,
Oh yeah.
like my voice is doing now. Um,
That man needed a
he just starts
drink.
losing his voice.
He
Yeah, he
was
needed a.
he was thirsty from all the puppies that he was seeing.
So yeah, Michael Cole in place of Jerry talking just bombards us with storylines from the corporation and war on Austin. Um, This, again, this is another match that I can't spend too much time on because it's just dull.
This is
This is another.
heel versus heel because obviously the
Mm,
corporation are heels, and then uh uh what's the Undertaker's the Ministry. They're
Ministry
just
of
like
Darkness, yeah.
they're like demonic church, like kidnapping, torturing people. So like, what is going on? Like everybody on the show is a heel.
A lot of them are, yeah.
Yeah.
There's only really two strong baby faces on this entire show. Maybe three actually,
Hmm.
which we'll get to. Um, yeah, this is another walk and brawl match around ringside. Bossman looks great, but there are lots of chokes in this match. Midian doesn't seem to be too competent, at least in terms of her wrestling ability. Considering the amount of time he's probably been wrestling for, it's kind of wild. But I think it's just the style at the time was just slow chokes,
Yeah,
basic
but
moves.
Michael Cole said that Midian is a very impressive wrestler during this match, and I was like, "What are you talking
Hmm,
about?"
he's not watching the same match we were. Um, and yeah, I've noted it says, "Does Bossman have an advantage with his flak jacket?" Um, the originator of the shield look, I
Yeah,
suppose you could say it.
probably adds some protection.
Probably some. There's biting by Midian before Bossman takes over with his running backslide on Midian to the ropes and a baseball slide punch to Midian. So he sort of um, like chucks Midian out and then slides out of the ring and then punches him. It's just a nice little sort of
Yeah,
moment.
so Midian, like, if, for those listening, imagine as if he was about to take the 619. He was draped
Ah,
over the second rope, and Big Bossman, he runs against the ropes as if he's about to do the 619, but he just slides onto the ring and punches him in the face. And I'm just like, dude, why are you wasting so much energy? We all know your stamina is not great, so
I don't know. I thought, I mean, Bossman looked very competent in this match compared to Midian, but
yeah,
the
I
crowd
guess. The
The
crowd
crowd did
was
start.
killing this match. They were chanting
They
boring like crazy.
they did. They started chanting boring at the stage. Anyway, Boss Man wins with a sidewalk slam in 6 minutes and 19 seconds as
That
the
sidewalk
Ministry.
slam didn't look good.
It didn't. It did. Normally gets a bit more spin on it.
Yeah.
Obviously it's the black hole slam people might be more sort of familiar with, but sidewalk slam I love. It's a great looking move.
Yeah.
But we get the Ministry out afterwards, who are Edge, Gangrel, Christian, the Acolytes, and Viscera, and they come out to save. These are the bad guys, the spooky crew. You know, this is like a cast of Scooby Doo villains coming out to save another Scooby Doo villain. And the lights go out, and Undertaker's theme plays as he makes his slow way down to ring with Paul Bearer at his side, while the Ministry beat up Boss Man. He gets 3 big splashes by Viscera, and they haul him off to the back for more Scooby Doo nonsense. I'll say it now. I give this 1 out of 5. I thought it was absolute shite. Two lads in
crowd
black.
called it. The crowd called it right.
It's 2 guys dressed in black clothes. Neither which look particularly, they don't stand out. They just look the same. There's no real good guys or bad guys. It's just the bland guys in this match. So yeah, what did you think?
Bossman was only back for about a month at this point. He came back as this big threat. Like, he was Vince McMahon's bodyguard, I guess you could say, and he was like this big threat against Austin. But then Austin just kicked his ass every week, and then he like tag teamed with Ken Shamrock for a couple of weeks, and yeah, there's just so much going on at this time period.
It really is, yeah.
I give this match a 1 as well.
Okay, fair enough. To the back. Sexual Chocolate and Mark Henry. D'Lo Brown and Ivory are backstage as Kevin Kelly recaps heat from earlier, where Ivory and Deborah got into a bit of beef with each other due to a recent feud. This stems from Mark flirting with Deborah. She pretended to be attracted to him when the wrestler she was actually managing at the time, Jeff Jarrett, attacks him from behind. So to try and prevent Deborah from further distracting Henry, his tag team partner D'Lo introduced him to a new woman in their corner, Ivory, in the hope that Henry would not be distracted in their match against the new tag team champions.
Yeah, this storyline was weird. D'Lo and Mark Henry, they were still tag teaming after Nation of Domination broke up, and out of nowhere, Mark Henry just became really horny, and he like fell in love with China, and he kept trying to like take her out on dates. And he would like leave in the middle of tag matches, and D'Lo was always pissed off at him, and he was trying to like hook him up with all these other women. There was one episode where I think Jacqueline and Terry, they took Mark Henry to a room and like stripped him naked and strapped him to a bed and like just left him there for the entire episode. And I don't remember where that went, but yeah, Mark Henry, he was just like trying to get laid with everybody, and D'Lo kept trying to hook him up with a bunch of women.
Yes.
I guess D'Lo was the original Godfather, maybe.
Yeah, I thought D'Lo sounded great here in this little promo he cuts. It's quite fiery. But it sort of immediately goes into the sexual chocolate music, which kind of ruins any kind of level of like anticipation for a match, I find.
Yeah.
But they did look good. They were wearing sort of matching costumes. They looked like a good team, and Ivory was a random pairing, but I guess she's getting paid, so that's good. So yes, we get D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry versus Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart, who are the tag team champions. And this match, yeah, and this is for the WWF Tag Team Championships. Mark gives Ivory a lovely rose for Valentine's Day before the other team comes out. So, they come out to Jeff and Owen come out to Deborah's theme, I think is what it would become, but I think it was Jeff's theme at the time. I'm not too sure. Yeah. It's like we mentioned at the start, this is 1999. So it's hard to talk about Owen Hart without sort of especially in this year, without sort of thinking, at least, and I was immediately thinking, God, this is the same year he passes away. And it's like, it's only 2.5 months away from when he dies at this stage, because it's May 23rd, that year that he dies at only 34 years old. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and
He's just
up to this point, the past like 6 months or so up to this pay-per-view, he hasn't done anything noteworthy because um he was in a storyline where he injured Dan Severn, but they
mm,
played it like like paralyzed him or something, but it was all for storyline. So
hmm
Owen, he became all depressed about it, so he quit wrestling. And then the Blue Blazer started showing up and attacking everybody, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's Owen," and he's like, "That's not me. That's not me." So in some episodes, he had Jeff Jarrett dress up as the Blue Blazer so that he can be like, "Hey, I'm Owen. I'm over here in the Blue Blazer. See, we're in the same room at the same time. It's not me." And then they just started being a tag team, and the Blue Blazer, like, I don't know what happened to him. And yeah, here we are. And about a month prior to this, Jeff Jarrett, he still had his long hair, and
hmm
he lost his hair in a hair versus hair match to X-Pac, I think. So
Oh,
that's when
okay.
he became the
The
Jeff that
sort
we're more
of
familiar with today.
yeah, the sort of version that would stick for many, many years
Yeah,
afterwards.
the Slapnuts Jarrett.
This is the piss. Don't piss me off. Jeff Jarrett at the stage with his T-shirt. Although the action figures never said "Don't piss me off." I think it said "Don't tick me off"
Oh, pff,
at the time. So you
weak.
can't have pissed off in the T-shirt. Yeah. So to start this one off, Mark and Owen start. Owen slapping Mark hard. Mark's power quickly takes over and gives Owen a nice slap. D'Lo's tagged in. Mark's pretty green at this stage, so D'Lo does spend a bit more time in the ring than Mark does. Jarrett's tagged in, works over Brown. There's a brief distraction from Deborah. Brown's beaten from pillar to post by the two rivals. And then Brown gets a lovely suplex on Owen, and Owen hits him with a lovely enziguri in response. King and Cole talk about the successes of Owen Hart and that he's won lots of tag team gold recently,
Hmm.
which King says that's because he's not wrestling with shadows,
Oh
which
yeah.
is a not so subtle dig at the documentary, which concluded with Bret Hart leaving WWF in 1997.
Yeah.
The crowd are up and down for this match, but all over the show. Both teams do their best, absolute best, to try and get the heat up. They're like calling to the crowd. They're trying to amp this one up as much as they can. Owen runs at Mark, distracting the referee while Jarrett chokes Brown. Then Owen runs back while the ref is distracted by Mark to boot Brown in the balls, which I thought was amazing. And then Mark eventually gets tagged in, and there's a great spot where D'Lo counters a Thesz press by Jeff Jarrett by just lifting him into the sky high
That was
move that he
so
would.
beautiful. I love
That
that
was
move.
perfect, absolutely perfect. I thought it
Yeah.
was great. I
That
love that move too.
that move woke me up because I was falling asleep at this point of this show.
Yeah. So while Deborah, D'Lo, and Ivory banter on the outside, the ref is distracted, and Owen clocks Mark in the back of the knee with the guitar, which of course Earl
Sounds like a
Hebner being
nuclear
Earl,
bomb. It was
he
so
doesn't
loud.
even Earl being Earl just ignores it.
It was actually
And
Mike Chioda. I took note of that. It
oh,
was
was it Mike?
yeah.
Okay, Mike Kyoto. So he has to ignore it, and he also has to ignore all of the wood lying all over the
Yeah, which
the
he's
ring.
literally like slapping his hand in it because
Yeah,
it's
there's like wood
everywhere.
bouncing on the air. So there's a figure four leg lock by Jarrett for the submission win in 9 minutes and 34 seconds. I give it a 3 out of 5. It's good effort by both teams. They worked really, really well together. I thought that they both looked like actual teams. They weren't just random pairings. But apart from that, it was not much.
That finish, I did not like that finish. It was stupid. But I
No.
mean, we get so many stupid finishes. I almost kind of expect it half the time. But
hmm
yeah, I didn't like this as much as you. I give this 1.5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, wasn't really a fan. I think maybe I just wasn't in the best mood when I was watching this pay per view because when I look at my ratings, I'm like, ugh, yikes.
Yeah, it's I mean, I think that's the story of this show, isn't it? It's you could go either way on these ratings. Some I think I enjoyed more just for seeing the people in the ring than others, but that's fair enough, I think.
Yeah, one thing I want to say about this time period is a lot of people say about how great the Attitude Era is, and this is actually my first time like going through it episode by episode, and
hmm
it's very disappointing because like yes, the characters are great. Like the Undertaker is cool, like Kane is cool, The Rock is funny, Austin is great. But these matches are just awful every single week. Not a single match on Raw ends without some kind of interference or some kind of bullshit, or
Hmm.
the titles are changing sometimes twice in one show, let alone like every week. And
Hmm.
everybody who misses wrestling from this time period, like, I don't think you guys understand what you're missing, because everything that people complain about today is like magnified back then, I think. At least like today we have good matches. Like we mentioned at the start of the show, we mentioned that Dynamite episode. It felt like a Attitude Era episode, but the match finishes were clean. The matches were fairly long. Everything kind of made sense. Uh, so yeah, I don't know. I just kind of went on a small rant, but this pay per view just feels like a stretched out Raw from that time period.
Yeah, I agree. I think it definitely does. Which we will, apart from one
And
high moment, I guess.
I think
But
to a certain degree, the Raw episodes were more interesting at this time period because the pay per views focus so much on matches, which are not great as we are seeing.
mm,
But the Raws, they focus more on the storyline. So you do get like a 15-minute promo of Austin and The Rock or whoever doing some funny stuff or crazy stuff every week on Raw, and that's funny. Like the milk carton with Kurt Angle, or like the beer truck with Austin, that kind of stuff
mhm,
you see on Raw, which is memorable. But the pay per view, it's just, oh, we gotta have the matches, and it's not as interesting.
mm. Yeah, definitely the abilities compared to the talking abilities are perhaps a bit lacking at that
Yeah.
stage. But speaking of talking, to the back, Kevin Kelly is with the WWF champion Mankind. The two commentate a video showing The Rock, who's a heel at the stage, still assaulting Mankind with a bin and a pallet backstage, where Mankind's training with a bunch of legends, like the Iron Sheik and things like that. Um, Mankind is great here. He cuts a great promo against The Rock, and this is like, we were watching the Royal Rumble 2000. This is not even a year away from like The Rock being like the most over thing in the entire wrestling world. And to see him here, sort of still very charismatic, you can see like the early stages of The Rock that we know, sort of transforming into this. We'd seen him in the Nation of Domination, and he just made everyone in the nation look like complete jabronis, as he would say. And then here you can sort of see he's almost at that point where the crowd are getting behind him. So
Yeah.
this was kind of cool to see.
It's interesting to watch him, especially from Raw to Raw during this time period, because he was
Mm,
still not the Rock that we know and love today. His catchphrases,
hmm.
he was experimenting a lot, and a lot of the stuff he was saying at this time period didn't really catch on, so it sounds really weird.
Hmm.
He used the term monkey crap like every other sentence
Yeah,
during this time period. It's like, dude, please come up with something else. Thankfully, he did.
he did, yes. And we go back to the back again. Val Venus has made a video insinuating that he's made a sexy video with Ken Shamrock's sister, Ryan Shamrock, and taunting Ken Shamrock. But what's this about? Well, when Ken Shamrock's sister came to support her brother at ringside, she gained quite a few attentions from different men, one of which was Billy Gunn, who mooned her. Of course, that's a normal response to seeing an attractive woman as you show her your ass. And Val Venus, who performed the dance for her, which is, of course, the other thing. That's how you attract women, is you've got to show them your rear, or you've got to dance for them.
Well,
I'm not
it
sure.
apparently worked for Val.
Apparently did. I mean, they were taking their mating habits from birds, apparently, at this stage, but
Yeah, maybe
they...
they should sniff each other's buttholes too.
I mean, it doesn't... It just says, I think, where the 90s are, where men get away with more because they're sexist and they're leering at women, and that's cool. That's what
Yeah.
the 90s says.
And women are just stupid bimbos who just like muscles and
They're just
popularity. That's
designed
it.
to stand there and do nothing.
Yeah.
It's very, very telling, this match here. But the story, anyway, is that Shamrock is an overbearing older brother of Ryan Shamrock, and to keep his sister from not going away with one of these men, she was soon shown to have appeared in Val Venus's adult film Saving Ryan's Privates, and despite Shamrock promising he would not put his hands on Venus, it didn't stop him from attacking him with a chair. Although Shamrock put up his Intercontinental Championship for the event, he could not contain his rage and attacked Venus again when he was conducting an interview in the ring. And when the referees and officials tried to break them up, Shamrock attacked them all, leading to the senior referee Earl Hebner refusing to referee the match for tonight's show, which led to basically Billy Gunn volunteering himself and his services to officiate the match. So there you are. So we've got Billy Gunn as the referee, and it's Val Venus versus Ken Shamrock, and Shamrock's the Intercontinental champion, and this is for the championship belt.
I gotta say that I love the Val Venus character.
Oof.
I think he's hilarious. And surprisingly, he has aged well, I think, because I think porn is very mainstream nowadays. With like OnlyFans being popular and everything. Like, your next door neighbors, at least in America, probably have OnlyFans, and it's just very acceptable. And like the Saving Ryan's Privates, like those the names of his videos are funny. Like, just stuff like that I find really funny. But Sean Morley,
Yeah.
the man,
Mm-mm.
I'm not a fan.
He is not doing well in 2022. That's for sure.
It boggles my mind that like this conservative conspiracy lunatic played this character, because he played him so well. And conservatives, they hate porn and sexuality or anything like that. So it's just weird to me.
Well, the Val Venus character did die when he became a member of the Right to Censor, so maybe that's where he changed.
That's true.
And maybe
yeah.
he was more right wing then from there on in.
Yeah,
Who knows?
maybe he took that speech from the networks to heart, and he took it seriously, and he changed his life.
Maybe, yeah. So Venus cuts his creepy voice promo telling the crowd that he has a heart on for all of the ladies. Ha ha ha. Ken Shamrock's out looking like $1,000,000 and traveling at the speed of light down the ring. Val Venus flies into a turnbuckle, seemingly moving the ring as he hits it so hard. There's stiff kicks by Ken while the crowd chant that he sucks, because obviously they want to see the porn star making out with the woman.
Again, who is the heel here? I mean, who's the face? Because obviously
Yes.
Ken Shamrock is part of the corporation, so he's the heel. But Val Venus is this pervy guy taking advantage of this innocent woman. I don't know. And then Billy Gunn, he's just a dick to everybody. So everybody's a heel.
It's a mess, this match. I'll be honest with you. I'll try and go through some of these notes here, because some of them it's quite confusing. But Billy tells Shamrock to get back in the ring, and then checks out Ken's sister while Ken's back is turned. Back in the ring, Venus gets a delayed suplex and an atomic drop. Val works over Shamrock while Cole and King argue over Ken and Venus's points of view. Cole stifles a laugh when Jerry asks, "Do you think Val's ever had Ryan in that move?" Which was Ken draped over his knee. It was really weird.
Yeah, Lawler was trying to force a lot of jokes in here that didn't really hit.
He was. That one did make Michael Cole laugh, though. But not a lot of them.
I chuckled, but then I thought about it. I'm like, why would you ever
That makes
have
no
a
sense.
woman in that
A
position?
backbreaker? Yeah. I don't know. This match dies a death as the crowd are silent on a pin attempt by Val. Billy Gunn is slow to count and says, "I didn't know what you guys were doing. How was I supposed to know that was a pin?" And which I did catch on audio. I don't know if you're listening on headphones.
I wrote that down. Throughout the match, I was watching Billy Gunn, and he made me laugh, because throughout the whole match, it's kind of very low key, but he's constantly like gyrating and dancing and just like interacting with the crowd and not paying attention. And he keeps saying, I don't know how to, like, he didn't know how to be a referee. There was a point, which I think you're coming up to, but he had him in a chokehold, and Ken Shamrock is like, "Ask him," and Billy Gunn is like, "Ask him what?" He's like, "Ask him what?"
That's right. Yeah, that's very funny. Billy Gunn did make this match a lot more. If he wasn't there, oh my god.
Yeah.
We get, and case in point, we get an endless chokehold by Venus, and during punches in the corner, they both blankly stare at each other, and then at Billy, who's saying something to them, and I couldn't make it out, but they were just like, they looked at Billy, and then they looked back at each other. It was really weird. Ken counters an Irish whip with a knee and a DDT to Venus, and during a pin attempt, Billy stops the count at 3. So Ken stands up, gobsmacked, and very loudly says, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Venus puts on a sleeper, and I just have a note here that says, hopefully his kayfabe movies are a bit more exciting than his wrestling moves. There's a Hurricane Rana by Shamrock, belly to back, and an ankle lock, but Ryan breaks the submission. So Ken shouts at her saying, "What the fuck? Blood's thicker than water." Gunn ends up hitting Shamrock after he's pushed, and then Venus capitalizes and pins Ken. Ken hoofs it out and attacks Gunn while Venus music plays. And then Gunn returns and beats up Val.
And Michael Cole goes, "What the hell is going on?"
I just have my last note just says, "That's enough. This was a complete mess." I give it 0 to 5 stars, and it just needs to get in the bin. This was so slow. Yeah.
I was enjoying the first couple minutes, mostly because of Billy Gunn, but then this just dragged forever and kept going on and on and on.
It was very long.
It didn't make sense, so I did not like this. Ryan Shamrock looked great, so I'll just say that. She was my favorite part of the match. But yeah,
Okay.
I'm a little bit higher than you. I gave it 1.5.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, still.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, the reality is, it's not Ryan's sister. She's called Alicia Webb. She wouldn't go on to do much. But
I actually know her better as Symphony from WCW.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
she didn't do anything there. Do you remember the Maestro? That wrestler? Do you
Maestro?
Remember? Yeah, Maestro.
No. Was he part of that? Was she part of his entourage or something?
She was his manager, but I don't remember him ever having matches. He would just sit around and play the piano backstage. So like people would be
riveting.
People would be literally cutting a promo, and then this piano would just be blasting over them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember where his character went. Probably nowhere. But yeah, she was with him. She was with him for a while.
Okay, well, she actually did date Ken Shamrock at one stage, for a wee while, I think. Well, Vince knew that they were going out, so he threw out the idea, "Why don't we do an incest angle?" And then she left. Because he just got this, he put 2 and 2 together and got 5. So frightening how Vince McMahon's mind works.
Incest angle way too many times.
Yeah, we tried it with Stephanie. Tried it with Ryan, and it's
tried it
it's
with,
weird.
Paul Burchill.
Oh, that's right. Yes, yeah.
He had a sister that he was sleeping with, and
maybe we'll see it again. He's not dead yet. We might get another attempt at incest. We'll see.
That man needs to go. Can't stand him.
To the back. Video package showing the potential breakup of the leftovers of the original DX, with China apparently joining the corporation. There is 1 million low blows in this video package, and it ends with the team of X-Pac and Triple H being set up against the corporation's Kane and China. One of the most random videos and weirdest story pairings I think I've ever seen, but or one of them anyway. But the story for this one is, the night after the Royal Rumble, Triple H demanded an I Quit match with The Rock, questioning the circumstances that their previous match had ended that previous night. During the match, Triple H was just about to put Rock through the announce table when the corporation appeared and threatened that Kane would chokeslam his bodyguard China if he did not quit the match. When he did, the corporation left, but China revealed that she had switched sides by low-blowing Triple H. The following week, Triple H had a steel cage match with Kane, which he won thanks to some help from X-Pac after China also interfered. And then after the match, she threatened her Triple H by saying that, telling him that she had a special gift for him at St. Valentine's Day, because obviously the two were going out at this stage. They'd been going out for a long while, and it was sort of coming into the story that they were, even the commentators were saying that Triple H is, they've been together, and this has broken Triple H's heart, which is really weird to hear. I didn't remember this, but it was kind of fascinating to see this sort of lovelorn Triple H getting sort of thrown into the mix.
Yeah, it was very brief. This is like as lovey-dovey as he gets, which is not much, but yeah, I guess it's worth a mention.
So we get X-Pac, who's the European champion at this time, and Triple H versus Kane and China. And Pac and Triple H come out to the D-Generation X theme, which is awesome, with Hunter in long tights and a football jersey, which is so weird to see.
Yeah, I did not like his pants because the whole time he
No,
looked like Kane's tag team partner. I'm
oh,
very
it's
like
weird.
I always think about sports like teams having their own colors and being
Yes,
opposite colors of their opponents, and when opponents in wrestling wear the same color tights, it doesn't look right to me.
yeah, it's so weird because I did have a note here that says that he's wearing red, so it's black legs with like a red sort of crotch area, and Kane's obviously in the classic Kane gear, so it's red. X-Pac's in green,
Yeah.
China's in black. It's kind of you need to have a bit of a symbiosis with your gear. I think it's
Yeah.
super important. You know, when you look at FTR and stuff and AEW Dynamite, they always look like a team. You look at the Young Bucks, they look like a team. You know, it's important to have that sort of symbiosis with your tag team partner. But anyway,
We
uh,
finally know who the faces and heels are, at least, though. What is
we
this?
do.
Our
We got a clear
fifth
cut.
match?
One
We
second.
finally know.
I think it is, yeah. Hunter cuts the usual DX stick by saying, you know, for the thousands in attendance, and then he says, "And China, come out here, you big jacked up bitch," which I quite liked. And Kane's out, followed by China, who has the Vince theme.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
This is so funny because this theme, it just started this month because
yeah.
it was originally just going to be a theme for the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, because the
hmm
Royal Rumble pay-per-view that year had the tagline "No Chance in Hell," and I think
Ah,
Vince won that Royal Rumble, and
hmm
that became his theme song. So yeah, this theme
There you
song's only
go.
about 3 weeks old at this point.
So it gets a bit of a run. Still on the run today, and
Yeah, running wild.
that's actually a really good story that he won the Royal Rumble. So now he uses that theme because that was his big night,
Yeah.
the night he won the big deal. Um. Anyway, so Triple H, wearing a China shirt, rips it off and wipes his ass with it while Cole and King talk about how heartbroken Triple H is, which is just again really weird. Kane and Hunter start things off, both wearing red, which I say. And Shane McMahon is on commentary with Michael Cole and King, and he sounds like an
Yep.
excited drunk teenager.
20 pounds of cocaine.
It is yeah, it like all of the cocaine. He Here's some snippets from from Shane McMahon. He says wham 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 every time Kane is
And
beating up Triple H
the
for
whole
X
match,
Pac.
he would ask a question to either Lawler or Cole, and they would start answering it, and he would immediately cut him off with and go on
Jesus.
off tangent on something else.
Yeah, and he's just shouting, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, get him, get him, get him!" It's like, what the hell is going on here? I was checked out. I was like, no, just stop. Just whatever this is, just stop it. But he would continue.
The entire
X,
match.
well, we get a brief bit of respite, and then he's straight back at it. But anyway, uh, X Pac versus Kane, which I always really liked. X Pac versus Kane. Pac uses his speed to chop the giant down. Triple H gets tagged back in, and he gets hit in the back by China, distracting Hunter, letting Kane take the advantage and hitting his diving clothesline. China's tagged back in, but he gets suplexed after hitting a scoop slam. X-Pac gets tagged in, and they clean the ring while Shane shouts and screams, calling him X-Punk, 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 get that X-Punk. Thankfully, Shane gets hit by X-Pac, or X-Punk. He gets decked, but immediately straight after, he's back onto commentary, screaming and shouting. China throws X Punk.
I saw you a clip
Go.
of the woman sitting behind Shane. Did you catch that yourself or
Yes,
no?
I missed it at the time, but yeah, it's. I did. She was as confused as we were probably watching it because she was just like, "What the hell's this guy on?"
Yeah, because she can obviously hear him because she's sitting right behind him. So basically, they show a camera shot of Shane McMahon sitting at the announce table commentating, and he's just screaming. And
Mm,
there's a woman that's sitting right behind him in the crowd. She's smiling, then she's like, looks right
yeah,
at him. I just
she
thought it
is.
was
She is noticing.
hilarious.
She is very suspicious of his commentary.
And I was like, I'm pretty sure Dave and I have the same look on our face.
Oh, it was horrific, absolutely horrific. So China throws X-Pac onto the ropes on his groin. He tries to fight back, but China applies a sleeper. Pac hulks up and out of it, dropping China. Hot tag to Hunter, who cleans house as well as decking China in the face a couple of times. Pac does a lovely jump through the ropes, brawling with Kane on the outside. and then Hunter makes to go for the pedigree but gets dragged out, and then the whole thing breaks down with Pac Bronco bustering China. Shane interrupts and the two run off. Hunter hits another knee to China and then tries the pedigree, but Kane chokeslam him, and the referee finally appears as Kane drags China over Hunter, beating him in 14 minutes and 46 seconds. I give 3.5 or 3 stars out of 5. It's too long. It was far too long, but I did enjoy it. I thought there was a bit of humor, but Shane McMahon, I mean, I could have gone 2 on this because of Shane alone.
Yeah, Shane did not add anything positive to this. He could have been doing this, but as a manager. We
Yeah.
still would have heard him yelling a little bit at least, which is fine because that's what the manager is supposed to do. But he was just overpowering everybody on this. It just kind of took away from the match. And yeah, the crowd was super into this, but overall the match was kind of just average, I think. So I gave it 2.5.
Okay. To the back, we get a video package covering the win of Mankind over The Rock, with Mankind initially being screwed out of the championship. It shows Mankind assaulting Shane until Vince agrees to the rematch, which Mankind wins with Austin's help. And then when The Rock became, well, this is sort of going back a little bit more, but when The Rock became WWF champion at Survivor Series, it was sort of under, as we mentioned earlier, a bit dubious, like he sort of cheated. They tried to recreate the Montreal screw job, which is when Mankind loses the match without actually submitting. They played a tape to sort of make it look like he had said that he quitted. And then the following month at Rock Bottom, the In Your House Rock Bottom show, Mankind won the championship match by causing Rock to pass out from the mandible claw. But again, Vince would sort of step in and say, prevent Mankind from winning and becoming champion by claiming that The Rock did not technically tap out. And then due to sort of ambiguous circumstances, Mankind eventually gained a championship match on the January 4th edition of Raw's War, which he won, only to lose it again at the Royal Rumble in an I Quit match, thanks to a recording of his voice being played. So it's actually that one then. And then to win it back again in the empty arena match at halftime heat during the Super Bowl, which is coming up tonight, I think, in America, isn't it? It's today for you?
I have no idea.
You forget you're not in sports. Yeah, neither am I. But so eventually he trapped Rock underneath a forklift, and then going into WrestleMania, a definitive decision needed to be made. Who won the championship, and thus a match was sort of booked, I guess you could sort of say. They show the brutal beatdown of Mankind being handcuffed and getting screwed over, and then the beating that he took where he got really badly concussed and was featured in Beyond the Mat documentary. So it's a difficult one to describe because there's lots of different timelines going on in this video, but it's definitely worth checking out, I think.
Oh man, like I've said a million times already, but watching every Raw up to this point, that man's getting murdered every week.
He could take a hit, so they were very keen to hit him quite hard.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. That man must have lived with a headache. Like, just that's his normal state, just having a constant headache.
It wouldn't surprise me, yeah. So, this match, The Rock versus Mankind, who is the WWF champion. It's a last man standing match for the championship. Mankind starts by pretending to be handcuffed, turning his back on The Rock, giving Rocky the advantage, who goes to work on Mankind's knee, thanks to him having earlier attacked Mankind on Heat, which we got to see earlier. However, with Rock talking smack to Earl Hebner, Mankind grabs the championship and goes to work on The Rock. They fight up the entranceway, throwing each other into metal scaffold structures by the entrance. Rock is DDT'd through a table by the side, which almost broke with their weight when they're standing up on it, but it ended up working okay. They brawl into some spare bleachers before Mankind gets backdropped onto some concrete, and the crowd regularly chant and boo The Rock. And as I said earlier, we're not even a year away from this man being like beloved by every wrestling fan, pretty much. So we get back in the ring. Mankind scoop slams The Rock and does the People's / Mr. Elbow, as Michael Cole calls it.
Yeah.
But Rock dodges. We get 3 suplexes on the outside by Rock. He gets on commentary and tells Cole and King to shut up, which was great. And then Mankind beats him up while he's wearing the headset. I thought this was a tremendous spot.
Yeah, this was funny. This was really good. I liked it too. Also, I want to say throughout this match, The Rock was spitting. I wrote The Rock
Hmm.
spits more in this match than Goldberg did in his entire career. This man was just hawking loogies like every time he was on camera. I don't know why, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's a heel tactic, maybe.
I
Who
guess
knows?
so. Yeah, that's just disgusting. I'm the type of person I don't like body fluid or like facial fluid. It really grosses
Uh-huh.
me out. So just imagining myself like wrestling in like a puddle of boogers and everything that just grosses me out.
Yeah, it was pretty stinking. Mankind lays Rock on the announce table and delivers a diving elbow off the apron, the corner apron, and then back in the ring, Rock chops Mankind's legs with some chair shots. Rock goes to hit him in the head, but Mick dodges, and the chair rebounds off the ropes, hitting Rock in his face. So
I
he
love
hits
that
himself.
spot.
I love that spot. I think
And
Austin accidentally did it to himself one time as well.
yeah, the first time I ever saw it do it was Kurt Angle, and of course Kurt Angle
Mhm.
makes everything look great. So I was pissing myself laughing, and no matter who does it, every time I see this spot, I burst out laughing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great spot.
Yeah.
The Rock just sold it brilliantly here. Mankind car crash dives Rock over the rope with the two spilling on the floor. And then back by the announce table, Mick Foley almost dies. He gets backdropped off of the edge of the announce table, and the back of his head hits the announce table on the way back, on the way down. It was horrific. This was so brutal.
Yeah, and his
They show
leg
it in a replay. It's oh,
Yeah, and his leg hits the edge of a table where they keep like the bell and everything.
hmm
So
it just looked horrific. I don't know who came up with that spot, but
probably he did.
uh, probably, yeah. I don't think I've ever seen somebody take the back of their head off of a table from a backdrop. It was. I mean, it really was brutal. You can check it out online. It is horrific.
Have you ever seen that clip of La Resistance? They had like this double spine buster move that they did, and they did it to
Mm.
Spike Dudley over the top rope. They were trying to do it through a table, but they missed the table completely, and he hit the table with his back of his head.
Oh, I think so. I think they used that in the "Don't try this at home" videos. I
I
think
think so, yeah.
possibly.
But oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's like
Wow.
it was kind of like that to Mankind.
Yeah. Um, so Rock throws the steps from the ringside, that he had in the ring, onto Mick as Mick's lying on the outside. And then in the ring, Rock delivers the corporate elbow and gets on the mic. He says, "This is his gift to Tennessee," and starts to sing Elvis. And this was gold.
This
Like,
was
this is so
awesome.
much charisma. And then Mankind, in a brilliant spot, interrupts him with the mandible claw, and Rock then starts screaming on the mic. This was so good. I love this.
Yeah. And actually, when he was singing, the crowd was actually pretty into it. They were cheering Rock. So he was kind of getting popular already, even though people hated him, but they also loved him.
Yeah. Um, and Earl Hebner, with the slowest count in history, leads to a DDT by Rock. Rock swings with a chair, but Mankind ducks and delivers the double arm DDT to Rock onto the chair, but he gets up at 9. That mandible claws countered with a boot to the balls by Rock, and Rock bottom is hit. They both get up and hit each other with chairs, and neither man makes the 10 count, which is a shite finish.
I hated this.
This was such a shit finish, and the crowd booed because the crowd were really into this match all the way through it, all the way up to the end, and then they just get nothing. And Mankind wins by default because he's the champion. So I gave this 3 out of 5. It would have got 4 possibly if they had actually done a finish. I could have gone higher, but
I don't know why
the
they did
finish
this.
just
Because,
it was just sucked the air out of the match for me.
yeah, because The Rock is going to get the belt anyways, because it's Rock versus Austin at WrestleMania.
Hmm.
So why couldn't they just do that here? Also,
I don't
I
know.
hate this because last man standing match. So, how can the last man standing match end when nobody's standing? That doesn't make any sense to me. So,
Yeah.
I get it. They didn't get up to for 10 count, but what they should have done is like sudden death.
Mm.
Okay, 10 count, no one's up. So, whoever gets up first to their feet wins. That's what should have
Hmm.
been. Even if they have to sit there for like 5 minutes. I know that would be very boring and they wouldn't do that, but somebody's going to have to
Mm.
get up. So, they should have just done that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of these because this is what was this was. There's quite a few matches I think in this one where there's just a bit of ambiguity about the sort of finish behind it. We had in the last one with Kane and Triple H, and then this one as well. It's just kind of we don't need this.
Yeah,
But what?
especially since just a few days ago we had an awesome last man standing match between Hangman Adam Page and Lance Archer, where the finish was awesome, right? Like that
Hmm.
buckshot lariat over the ref into through the tables. That's how you finish a last man standing match.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, I gave this a 3 as well. I don't know if I mentioned that, but yeah, 3.
Fair enough. To the back. Video package showing a jacked up Vince McMahon winning the recent Royal Rumble. When Vince won the Rumble, he earned a match against against the WWF champion at WrestleMania. But at the time, as it was The Rock, who's a fellow corporate member, and that he's not a full time wrestler, McMahon announced on January 25th edition of Raw as War that he was vacating his place at WrestleMania, only to be informed by Commissioner Shawn Michaels that if the winner is incapable of wrestling in the WrestleMania main event, then the runner-up takes their place, which was Stone Cold Steve Austin. This enraged McMahon, of course, and Austin used this to goad McMahon into a match, explaining that even more than a WWF championship match, he wanted another chance to fight McMahon without any legal ramifications, so much that he would risk his WrestleMania place for a chance at the match, and to make sure that it was just a one-on-one, it would take place inside of a steel cage. The night before Raw, Saturday night, the Saturday night version, McMahon made Austin run the gauntlet against all of the corporation members, ending with McMahon pinning a weakened Austin, and then we get a final shot of ringside showing that the cage for tonight, which is basically the old 90s WWF cage, which used to be bright blue, but they've spray painted it black. And we also get a shot of the Western Union blimp flying around the arena.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, which is kind of cool seeing. So, there you go.
Yeah, this cage was very, very short. It's not nearly as high as we
Mm.
have cages today.
No,
When
it's not a 20-foot one.
when Austin entered the ring and he stood on the top rope, the cage went up to like just to his groin area. So yeah, it was not a very tall cage.
No, it's a sort of smaller one. Well, I think it came up to the top of his head when he's standing on the. It was kind of high, but not too high. It's definitely shortened one.
Mm-hmm.
So we get Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon. Austin's out first to a thunderous reaction.
I looked at
He look.
I looked at the time while I was watching this. There was 25 minutes left, or about, and I was like,
Mm,
"There's no way they're gonna fight in the cage for 20 minutes."
no,
So yeah, and they did not.
they did not. No. So like Austin is. I mean, at this stage, peak Austin. I think he looks like $1 billion, or he looks like $1 million, and then Vince comes out jacked up, and he looks like $1 billion. And McMahon climbs the cage to start off, but refuses to get in. And then McMahon taunts Austin to come out, and then they do a run around the ring, and then McMahon gets into the cage and starts throwing boots out of the door, and like holding onto the door and trying to kick him in the face. It was tremendous.
And Jerry Lawler was freaking out about this as if Vince was doing like Canadian destroyers or something. He was like, "Look at that move! Look at that! He's so athletic."
I think he said at one stage, "What a maneuver!" Somebody
Yeah.
said, "What a maneuver," which is exactly what McMahon used to say back in the day when he was announcing. He would say,
Yeah.
"What a maneuver!" Austin tries to climb the cage, but Vince tries to boot him off again. So Austin fakes a knee injury here, which was class. It was so well done. He sort of falls off the cage and then pretends that he's hurt by lying on the ground. So this lures McMahon out, and McMahon then is sent over the announce desk as Austin just goes, "Oh, I've got you now." And then he gets sent into the crowd behind him.
This was confusing to me. Why would Vince go out there? Like,
I think because he thought Austin was injured, so he thought he could take advantage.
I guess, but if I was Vince, I'd just stay in the ring and mock him the whole time and flex my pythons and do whatever.
I kind of liked it. I think it showed that Vince wasn't above taking shortcuts, and he saw that there was an opportunity. He's an opportunist.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
I
he's
don't
an
dislike it. It's just kind of like, I guess it's just not what I would do if I was an evil
Yeah.
billionaire owner.
You wouldn't be in there in the first place if you were a billionaire.
Yeah.
Neither would I. But the So he gets sent into the crowd, and then the crowd's going nuts as Austin is basically just having the time of his life. He's smiling away here, trailing McMahon around. McMahon bails into the crowd again, and this place just explodes. People are so excited to see Austin kill McMahon. And there's people flipping off Vince McMahon right into his face, which was just amazing sight. The crowd goes nuts as Austin, smiling again, trailing McMahon back around. So this is all before the match begins. This is, as you say, there's 25 minutes left in the pay-per-view. It's not a long match. It's 7 minutes and 55 seconds in total, so you can tell how long they spent on the outside here. The two climb the cage, and McMahon takes a bump off of the top of the cage through the Spanish announce table, monitors and all. It's spectacular seeing this.
That. I don't know if I've ever seen that. Maybe I have. I just forgot, but that kind of caught me off guard.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing seeing Vince McMahon doing a sort of Shawn Michaels bump off of the cage, which I think I've seen him do the exact same bump before.
And his spine lands right on the edge of the table, which could have gone wrong very quickly.
Absolutely, yeah. And they get the EMTs coming out, and Colin King tell us that things have gone too far. Howard Finkel begins to award the match to Austin, but Austin calls bullshit. He asks the crowd if they want to see him beating the hell out of McMahon to give him a hell yeah, and he's like, yeah, all right then. So he pushes Vince McMahon back to the ring and dumps him, hitting him with the backboard multiple times. He tells the crowd he's going to hit this motherfucker in the head, which didn't get bleeped. Multiple elbows off of Brett's rope, the deadliest rope, which is the second rope, to McMahon before Austin leaves. McMahon flips him off, so Austin comes back in to stomp a mud hole in him. McMahon hits a low blow and attempts to escape, but gets dumped back in and thrown into the cage, getting busted open in the process. Austin goes to leave again, but the bloody McMahon flips him off as Michael Cole begs Austin not to be tricked again like the Royal Rumble. So Austin delivers a stunner, which Vince always sells like a sack of shit. Like he always just completely collapses on his feet.
Sells it like a cutter, which
he
does look good. But one thing I want to say, I know this was part of the storyline. I know that to Austin, the most important thing was to beat the shit out of Vince, but there was a period which he basically exited out of the door, and he had like one step away from winning. But since Vince flipped him off, he went back in. What I would have done if I was a Texas rattlesnake, I would have stepped out, won the match, got my guaranteed main event on WrestleMania, then I would have went back in, closed the door, and then beat the shit out of him.
But, see, this is like when somebody says like why the Eagles couldn't take the ring to Mordor in Lord of the Rings, and it's like film starts, film ends. Good job, everyone. Let's go home. You gotta have a bit of exposition. You gotta have a bit of dramatic storytelling. You have to suspend your disbelief, I think, at these sort of moments where Austin could have almost won. But I get what you're saying.
I just don't like when cool characters are made to look stupid, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I am overthinking it, but still.
No, I agree to a certain point, yeah. Austin delivers a stunner, but as Austin talks smack, lying on the ground, chatting away to Vince, we see a knife coming up. I don't know if you saw this, but you can actually see the knife coming up through the ring and then sort of sawing away at the canvas.
Thankfully, no one was there.
I know, exactly. A couple of like feet towards Austin, he would have been stabbed in the belly. But Paul White climbs out from under the ring to massive boos. Obviously, the Giant from WCW at this stage, before he gets called the Big Show, they just call him Paul White, who had recently left WCW. He'd had enough of Eric and co. And he throws Austin against the cage multiple times, with the last throw against the sort of entranceway facing cage, sending Austin through the cage, and Austin just sort of gently climbs down and falls onto the ground to win the match in 7 minutes and 55 seconds. I thought this was very, very enjoyable. I thought this was a great finish. I thought it was a great debut, although it did make the guy seem a little bit stupid.
Yeah.
But overall, I thought this was great.
It also made him look strong because he threw him so hard that the cage broke. So
I don't think the commentators sold it enough.
Yeah.
Like, he threw him so hard, he threw him through the cage, is what they should have been shouting. Yeah. But instead, they were just like, "Oh my God, that's Paul White," and
I
they
think
sort of sounded.
if I think JR would have screamed it the way it should have
I
been, but Michael Cole was like, "Oh
definitely,
my,
definitely, yeah.
it's
This was
Boston."
great. This is the highest rated match on this show. I give it 3.75. I could go 4. Let's just say 4. Round it up to
Okay.
4, because it's great seeing Austin in his prime and Vince in his prime, and a great finish to a match. I thought. What did you think?
Yeah, and this is kind of the turning point for WWF in terms of acquiring talent because up to this point pretty much everybody was coming from WWF to WCW, but the Giant was like the first big name former world champion that came over.
Mm.
And then shortly after this Jericho followed. Of course, WWF would lose Goldust and Jarrett, but I mean, I think that's a fair trade if you're WWF. Goldust and Jarrett for Jericho and Big Show. Yeah, and then
Ah, so it's Goldust going across, right?
yeah, and then they got Kurt Angle. Of course, he was their own product, and then the Radicals came, and they just kept stacking their roster from that point. Uh, yeah, it obviously the match itself is not good, but again, it's one of those where I don't think they did a single wrestling move, but
Mm.
I gotta rate the overall segment, which I thought was very good and entertaining and worthy of the main event, especially compared to everything else on the show. So this is a 3.5 from me.
Okay, very good, very very good. So that's it. That sort of concludes our review of the pay per view. Obviously, we may cover subsequent pay per views down the road, so we don't want to spoil too much about any of the sort of subsequent actions. But you can let us know what your sort of thoughts and memories are of that show.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, overall, I thought a fairly boring show. Apart
Yeah,
from the final
it's
2 matches, maybe 3 matches.
pretty disappointing. Yeah, I think I've done my fair share of complaining throughout this review. So
Yeah,
yeah,
give
disappointing.
from Triple H and X Pac versus Kane and China onwards, you can watch it from there. I think is fine.
Yeah, everything
Maybe
else
just
is
the last two
skippable.
matches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am really interested in watching the following Raw though, so I think I might watch that tonight just for kind of like my own pleasure,
Okay.
just to see where this goes. But then again, maybe not because too much wrestling with AEW and
Yeah.
everything.
You don't want to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that
Okay.
said, we're moving on to our awards, which I kind of had to scrape the bottom of the barrel for some of these.
Okay. Well, let's go through them quickly. Then I suppose we can go through them in a fairly quick fashion then, because
Yeah.
there wasn't much on this show I find particularly thrilling. But let's have it. Have at it.
So best entrance of the night, we have Goldust, The Undertaker, who didn't even have a match, but he did have an entrance. D-Generation X, which was Triple H and X-Pac, Kane, and last but not least, Steve Austin.
Oh, easy. Stone Cold Steve Austin, $1 million entrance.
I agree. He had no pyro or anything, but the crowd is crazy, and the crowd just adds so much to everything,
Oh, they
pretty
totally
much.
did.
Yeah.
They really did. Yeah, 100%.
Dressed to Impress, Best Attire Award is your boy, Blue
Hmm.
Dust,
Oh, Jesus.
Undertaker, with this cool little, almost like a Black Assassin's Creed type of thing going on.
Yes.
Ryan Shamrock, which is my favorite.
Hmm.
And last but not least, I have The Rock. It's not a great attire, but it was kind of different because he wore this tracksuit pants and like a soccer jersey, which I thought was
Oh,
kind
okay.
of unique. So this is everyone else just kind of wore. They had some cool outfits. Like obviously Kane had a cool outfit, but it's the same outfit he wears every single time.
Hmm.
So that's why I didn't really mention any of those. So if you want to throw one in there that I might have missed.
I think Stone Cold again. I would probably give it to Stone Cold because he had the vest. He just looked in that. If you had a video game, if you have any video game and it features Stone Cold Steve Austin, this is what you get in your video game. This is the classic Austin. He's got the hell yeah vest on, simple attire, but super effective. You instantly know who he is. If I had to give one out of that list, probably The Rock, because again, I think this is a very iconic outfit because he would be in this outfit in all of the video games, I think, as well. For backstage sort of, segments where they would have different outfits and stuff.
Yeah, there's a few games where he has this outfit.
Mm.
The reason why I don't want to give it to Austin's because literally just black trunks. He just has the
Yeah.
Goldberg attire copy and pasted, or I guess vice versa. Uh,
Yeah.
so I think we're gonna give this to The Rock, if you're
Okay.
okay with that.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. Just because of the uniqueness. Okay, so next is the Joey Styles Oh My God Award. I really need like a sound
Mm.
clip to play when I do this.
Yes.
So you can probably guess which matches these are going to be from. But first, the
Okay.
first one was the D'Lo Brown Sky High to Jeff Jarrett,
Mm.
which I thought was very smooth and impressive.
That was a good
Second
one.
one
Yeah.
is Mankind DDT to The Rock through a table and a bunch of monitors.
Mm.
The third one is Mankind's elbow drop off the apron to The Rock, who was on the table.
Mm-hmm.
The Rock throwing stairs at Mankind, which looked horrific because
Mm-hmm.
it was just the most careless throw, the most brutal throw. Last but not
Mm-hmm.
least, which I think is going to be the winner, is Vince McMahon falling off the cage through a table.
It goes to Vince,
Yeah.
definitely from me anyway. I think that's unbelievable seeing the owner of a company taking a bump like that, regardless of his age at the time. It was
Yes.
unbelievable.
Say what you want about it. I hate Vince McMahon, the person.
Mm.
To me, he's Donald Trump 2.0. But the one thing that separates them is that Vince McMahon actually busted his ass a
Mm.
few times in his life. So there's
Yeah,
that.
that's fair enough.
All right, the comedy gold medal. The intro package to the show, which I thought was very funny.
Mm.
Billy Gunn's not knowing how to be a referee and all his antics. The woman sitting behind Shane McMahon and making
Okay.
faces at him. The Rock hitting himself with a chair, and
Oh,
The Rock singing in the middle of the match.
they're all great. I have to say they're all great. Billy Gunn's great. Oh, they're all just tremendous. But I have to give it to The Rock singing because
Oh
it
yeah,
is so good. Yeah, I'm gonna go for The Rock.
I agree. For me, it was either The Rock singing or The Rock hitting himself with a chair. But I think
Yes,
many other people
close.
have hit themselves with the chair, and The Rock singing is more of a unique type of thing.
It's super unique. Yeah, totally.
All right, here's our favorite, the Fire Russo Award.
Oof.
Blue Dust and his ass.
Hmm.
Uh, the referee not hearing, or Mike Chioda, I'll say, Mike Chioda not hearing or seeing Jeff Jarrett's guitar.
Hmm.
Billy Gunn burying both Shamrock and Val Venus.
Yes. Okay.
And last but not least, the last man standing draw.
Oh. Oh, it's that Billy Gunn burying the two is really high, but I have to give it to the finish of the last man standing. There is no winner.
I agree. That just gave me
It's some
flashbacks of
bullshit right
JBL.
there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's bollocks. Absolute
So
bollocks finish.
this is a new one. I didn't really know what to name it, but the STFU Jerry Lawler, is he still the
Yes.
STFU champion?
Yeah, I think it's the Jerry Lawler Award. Yeah.
Well, it's with this thing, since we don't really have nominees every show, I figured we're gonna give them. Jerry Lawler is the current STFU champion,
Okay.
and if someone kind of, he's currently the reigning champion. So if someone kind of like does something worse than him, they become the champion. Do you see what I'm
Yes.
saying?
That's fair
So
enough. Yeah.
do you think Jerry Lawler retains his championship against Shane or no?
Oh, jeez. No, it
Or
has to be Shane. It has to be Shane this
all
one
right,
because
Shane is for
Shane is
you.
just Shane is this is like the 24/7 championship award. I
Yes.
think in that it can get changed from person to person. So Shane is the new. Let's call it the 24/7 championship because I hate that award, that championship. So Shane is the new 24/7 champion. He is terrible on this show.
Okay, and worst match of the night: Goldust versus Blue Dust, Big Boss
Mm.
Man versus Midian, Ken Shamrock versus Val Venus, or D'Lo and Mark Henry against Jarrett and Owens.
Oh, it's Big Boss Man versus Midian. It's
I
terrible.
agree.
Too long. Mm.
Yes, and boring.
And very boring, yes.
And with that, we go to the best match of the night, which was probably, I should not have put this one on here, but Al Snow versus Bob Holly, Kane and
No.
China, Kane and China versus Triple H and X Pac, Mankind versus The Rock, or Vince versus Austin.
Vince versus Austin. This is match of the night,
I agree.
100%.
Best segment.
It's well worth going out of your way to see this match. It's really good.
All right, and that brings us to the Jameson Award. Get him off my screen. I vote for Blue Dust.
Was there someone more annoying than Blue Dust?
Visually,
He ticks the boxes,
I don't think
but
so.
he wasn't as annoying. If you compare him to Jameson, he's not quite on
Well,
Jameson's level.
no one is.
No one ever probably will be, will they?
I also gotta
Yeah,
remember
so
this was the former Great Khali Award. So Great Khali is not
yes,
annoying, but he just sucks.
yeah, I suppose it has to go to Blue Dust.
Okay.
It's not a good character. Um,
He's just
yeah, it doesn't
repulsive.
translate well. It doesn't translate well.
Yeah.
He's there to be taken. He's there for people to laugh at, not with, and
Yeah.
I don't like that. So, not nothing personal against Blue Dust or Blue Meanie. I think it's more so that this almost sort of falls into the Russo category of just this is a stupid idea. You shouldn't be doing it, and this
Yeah.
character would never work on the big stage. On ECW, he works because he's a babyface and he's well liked and he has a good gimmick with the BWO. Doesn't work on WWF television, so yes, get it off my screen.
Yep. And last but not least, the MVP Most Valuable Performer Award.
Mm,
I'm not even sure. I haven't really thought about this one.
I
Obviously.
think The Rock.
Oh, you really?
I off the top of my head, I think so because he was so charismatic that he really injected a lot of excitement in the crowd in that match. And the finish aside, which is a terrible finish, I think that he was great throughout that match. The headphones where he sticks the headset on, he's chatting away, from singing in the ring, from like the way he's like throwing the stairs at Mankind. He was such a prick on this show that I thought that he was definitely the MVP of that match. Mick Foley's great, but that he was completely it was like a solar eclipse of Mankind because The Rock was such a big star or felt like a big star, so I would give it to The Rock.
In my mind, I had it between Austin and Vince. But I
Oh,
can see your points. I can't really argue against that. So yeah, I'll give it to The Rock.
ooh, nice.
And that wraps up our awards for the week.
There you go. There you go, folks. That's the end of our podcast today. The audio version should be out hopefully next couple of days. So happy Valentine's Day in advance. And our next show is going to be the WWE Women's Evolution, I believe, from 2018, I think it was.
Yep.
The first and only women's show that WWE did, and I guess we'll be talking about why we think that is and all that sort of stuff. So, I guess until then, it's goodbye from me, and
Goodbye from me too.